Everywhere we go, everywhere we go, go, oh, oh. Everywhere we go, everywhere we go, go, oh, oh. Everywhere we go, everywhere we go, oh, oh, oh. Everywhere we go, everywhere we go. The sunshine. Everywhere we go, everywhere we go. The sunshine. Everywhere we go, everywhere we go. Take a road and a road to the open air. Anytime and a place, and I'll meet you there. Blow back those clouds, and you and I will bring the sunshine. Take a chance to throw away your cares. Take a bus or a plane, it don't matter where. This day is ours, and you and I will bring the sunshine. Everywhere we go, everywhere we go, oh, oh, oh. Everywhere we go, 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 oh, oh, oh. Everywhere we go, everywhere we go, we bring the sunshine. Everywhere we go.
London is situated in the southeast of England in the Thames Valley. Home to over 8 million people, the capital of the UK has been an important financial, educational and cultural centre for hundreds of years. Of the many gifts England has given to the world, none has been greater than her language and literature. And if ever there's a city that reads like an epic saga, it's London. The story of London began in the Bronze Age, but it didn't really get going until the Romans withdrew in the 5th century. Growing into one of the great medieval trading cities, she truly came of age in the 11th century, when William the Conqueror built the Tower of London, which was to become one of England's grimmest prisons. London is very easy to navigate around, and is compact enough to explore on foot. This world city is filled with iconic symbols, and one of the most easily recognisable is Tower Bridge, an impressive reminder of London's rapid expansion during the Industrial Revolution. Just upriver, at the Houses of Parliament, Big Ben's reassuring chimes peal across the city every hour on the hour. Buckingham Palace, perhaps the most famous palace in the world, is the official residence of Queen Elizabeth. It's a popular London attraction, offering tours of staterooms and gardens. Nearby, Kensington Palace is open to the public year-round. The palace and gardens will be remembered as the home of Princess Di and Prince Charles, and have recently undergone a multi-million-pound refurbishment. Another legacy of England's monarchy are the royal parks of London. They were once reserved as private hunting grounds for the royal family, but nowadays they're open for everyone to enjoy. There are 8 royal parks, and many of them are in central London and close to royal palaces and other historic monuments. Green Park and St James Park are right next to Buckingham Palace, Admiralty Arch and the Mall. Hyde Park is perhaps the most famous, with its man-made lake, the Serpentine, and on the other side, Kensington Gardens is a beautiful open expanse that stretches east towards Kensington Palace. The Albert Memorial is at the southern end of Kensington Gardens, and the striking bronze statue looks towards the Royal Albert Hall just across the road. The hall is yet another reminder of Queen Victoria's great love for her husband, Prince Albert. Many of London's greatest stories have begun in her houses of worship, and none is so impressive and important as Westminster Abbey. This is where kings and queens have been crowned, married, and even buried. London was rebuilt after the Great Fire in 1666, and St Paul's Cathedral is the most enduring monument to the city's transformation. It's a great testament to British strength and resilience. The West End in central London is a story in itself. Here, the streets are lined with ancient buildings, but the throngs of people are out to have fun. By day, the charming boutiques and cafes hum with shoppers. And by night, the bars along Carnaby Street are packed with patrons enjoying pre-show drinks. This is one of the largest theatre districts in the world. At times it can feel like you're on a Monopoly board, with Coventry Street, Trafalgar Square and Piccadilly Circus all close by. Moving away from the historic centre, London's trendy suburbs offer a different kind of story. The Portobello Road markets in Notting Hill attract thousands of visitors, especially to the antiques market that's held on Saturdays, while the edgier Camden Town features 6 popular markets that are open every day of the week and operate along her streets, the canal, and in her historic stables. London is a city that honours not only her own story, but also the story of humankind. British Museum is one of the finest in the world, and her treasures cover thousands of years of history and number in the millions. The museum is open every day, and best of all, it's free. From the ancient to the modern, the London Eye offers a complete change of pace and perspective. The massive wheel is over 400 feet high and takes 30 minutes to complete one rotation. From here, you can see the London of old, as well as some of the city's newest additions, all in air-conditioned comfort. London will always be a city that looks towards the past and the future in equal measure. From Rule Britannia to Cool Britannia, the fabric and the skyline of this city is forever turning over a new page. Which is, after all, what every great story should do.
In the 1800s, Manchester, England was the epicentre of the Industrial Revolution. Manchester's story is often shrouded in the smog and soot of Charles Dickens' novels, but this is a city with a glorious past, and perhaps an even greater future. It's been said, what Manchester thinks today, the world thinks tomorrow. Manchester is a city of firsts. This is the world's first truly modern city, the place where mankind first split the atom, the birthplace of the first modern computer. Manchester's story begins here, in Castle Field, where the many chapters of the city's story merge into one. Explore the remains of the Roman fort, built to guard an ancient river crossing. Wander the banks of the Bridgewater Canal, whose completion in 1761 is regarded as the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Admire the warehouses and mills, which once numbered in the thousands and generated incredible wealth for the city, while in the background is Beetham Tower, the symbol of a city once again on the rise. As the city's fortune swelled in the 19th century, so did its civic pride. Manchester's elites saw the city as the new Venice and commissioned grand buildings and monuments, taking architectural inspiration from across the ages. Manchester's crowning glory is its town hall, built to rival the great buildings of London. Admire the incredible Victorian Gothic exterior, lavish staterooms, and murals which celebrate the city's history. This is a building that proclaimed, "This is Manchester, and we've arrived." For 2 centuries, Manchester's merchants went on a spending spree, scouring the world in search of cultural treasures to fill their stately homes. Many of these treasures now reside in the city's museums and galleries. At the Manchester Art Gallery, explore the works of the Pre-Raphaelites, Britain's first radical art movement, and more contemporary works which continue to challenge. At the Manchester Museum, step into a Gothic revival time capsule housing millions of items from a T-Rex skeleton called Stan to one of the UK's most important Egyptology collections. This city enjoys a proud philanthropic tradition. Perhaps the city's greatest was Enriqueta Rylands, whose gift to the city was the John Rylands Library. Dedicated to Manchester's largest textile magnate in the 10 years it took to create the neo-Gothic masterpiece, the widow acquired 40,000 books and oversaw every last detail, a labour of love for her late husband and the people of Manchester. Manchester has long understood the power of knowledge. In 1653, the Cheetham Library became the country's first free public library and has been open to all ever since. Let your fingertips wander the Tudor-era shelves, then step into the room where Frederick Engels and Karl Marx began to write the Communist Manifesto, a work inspired by the crushing conditions the city's workers once endured. Revolution and reform run deep in Manchester's waters, housed in a restored Edwardian pump house in the People's History Museum, which celebrates those who challenged Britain's rigid political and class systems. Stand before the simple desk where Thomas Paine penned The Rights of Man, a book that helped ignite the revolutionary fires in America and France. At the world's oldest surviving railway station, you'll find the Museum of Science and Industry. In the museum's power hall, feel the heat and steam that powered the shafts and wheels which once made Manchester the Empire's engine room. From textile looms to locally produced aircraft and motor vehicles, this museum is both a fascinating journey through the city's glory days and a peek into the future. The Imperial War Museum North is designed to resemble the shards of a world shattered by conflict. Manchester knows well the horrors of war. During the Manchester Blitz, thousands of German bombs rained down upon the city. In typical Mancunian fashion, this museum strips away the pomp and glory of war and reminds us instead of its human cost. After the 1950s, Manchester's fortunes went into a serious decline and the city was all but written off as a post-industrial basket case. But in recent decades, the city began to awaken once more, largely thanks to its youthful creativity. A succession of bands like Joy Division, The Smiths, The Stone Roses and Oasis shook up the foundations of popular music and put Manchester back on the map. Explore the city's incredible musical heritage in areas like the Northern Quarter and pick up some rare vinyl along the way. Then head to The Village, around Canal Street, which perfectly encapsulates the Mancunian ideals of tolerance, self-expression and good times. But if there is one source of pride that truly unites this city, it's its 2 football clubs, Manchester City and Manchester United. In 1968, Manchester United became the first English club to become European champions. Today, the club enjoys a global fan base in the millions. Learn more at the National Football Museum in the city centre, or better still, time your visit for a match at Old Trafford, Manchester's Theatre of Dreams, since 1910. Manchester may no longer be England's industrial powerhouse, but it's a city that's never stopped dreaming. Right across the city, daring new projects, innovations and ideas continue to capture the world's attention. In this city of firsts, the only question is, what will Manchester do next? Liverpool rises from the coastal plains of West Lancashire, where the River Mersey meets the Irish Sea. Whether it be the winds of trade, war or travel, the city's fortunes have been tied to the ocean for over 800 years. In the 19th century, Liverpool was Britain's trading gateway to the world, creating an enormous wealth that was ploughed back into the city's skyline. In Liverpool, every brick, gable and spire is a proclamation of the city's industry and optimism. Right in the heart of Liverpool, by the banks of the city's beloved River Mersey, is Pier Head. Wander across this floating pier, where the excitement and teary farewells of transatlantic steamship passengers once filled the air. Just behind Pier Head rises the city's crown, the Three Graces. Named after the Greek goddesses of charm, beauty and creativity, these three buildings stand as a testament to both Liverpool's former trading might and the city's eternal love of beauty. One of the best views of the Three Graces is from the Museum of Liverpool, which traces the ways that maritime trade, music and sport has shaped the city. From Pier Head, a great way to explore Liverpool's waterfront is aboard an iconic Mersey ferry, the riverboats which inspired the famous song. Take a River Explorer cruise and hop off at various attractions along the way, such as the U-boat story. In 1993, the German submarine U-534 was raised from the bottom of the North Sea by treasure hunters. Although no Nazi gold was found, the submarine was remarkably well preserved. Today, the U-boat serves as a fascinating window into the men and machines which wrought havoc on Allied shipping during World War II. Just upriver from Pier Head is the city's former engine room, the Albert Docks. Once packed with goods such as ivory, tea and tobacco, today the docks are the storehouses of many of the city's historic and cultural treasures. At the Merseyside Maritime Museum, explore Liverpool's ocean-going past, from the ages of sail to titanic stories of loss and sacrifice. Next door, the acclaimed International Slavery Museum is a sobering reminder that the bricks of Liverpool were mortared with the blood and sweat of Africa. When the UK's premier art institution, the Tate, searched for a northern home to exhibit works from its national collection, the perfect home was found here, by the Mersey. Just across the dock, climb aboard another submarine and immerse yourself in the sights and sounds of the Fab Four at the Beatles story. More than just the city's finest cultural export, the Beatles were Liverpool's gift to the world. Admire memorabilia that has acquired an almost sacred status, such as John Lennon's spectacles and George Harrison's first guitar. A few blocks away, continue your magical mystery tour down the stairs at 10 Matthew Street. In the early 60s, the Beatles performed at the Cavern Club almost 300 times, and along with the bands such as the Rolling Stones, The Who and the Kinks, helped make this tiny stage the centre of the musical universe. But to discover the true place of the Beatles, take a trip to the leafy Liverpool suburbs. Set in the basement of a quiet suburban house, the Casbah Coffee Club ran for just 3 short years before being locked up for decades. Today, you can tour this incredible time capsule to see murals painted by the band and hear from those who were there to witness the explosion of Beatlemania.
That scene was painted by Paul.
Step even further back into Beatles history at St. Peter's, the church where John Lennon and Paul McCartney first met. In the graveyard, where the two sunbathed as teenagers, lays the gravestone of Eleanor Rigby, the subject of one of the Beatles' most famous and haunting songs.